how to get a degree apprenticeship full guide. Let's go. So in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly what you need to do to get a degree apprenticeship, exactly what it says on the tin. So this is going to be a long video because I'm going to cover absolutely everything you need to know. Everything is going to be in detail in this video. So it's a long video. So respect to you just for watching this. Like, you could be on TikTok or scrolling on Instagram right now, but you're investing in your education and watching this. And basically every minute more you watch of this, the more it's going to help you in getting your degree apprenticeship. So respect to you. There are 3 steps to getting a degree apprenticeship. Okay, number 1, finding the right apprenticeships. Number 2, becoming more attractive as a candidate. And then number 3, acing the application process. So we're going to go through those in order, and then also there'll be timestamps in the description in case you need to skip to a specific section. So just before we start, quick introduction. My name's Owen and I help people get so many degree apprenticeship offers that people start calling them selfish for taking all the spaces. Yep, that's happened. I've been helping people and they've ended up getting multiple offers, and then people are messaging them saying they're selfish for getting all the spaces. Basically what I've done is I've helped people get offers from companies like JLR, HSBC, GSK, KPMG, Amazon, lots of different companies. So those are my credentials for helping you in this video for how to get a degree apprenticeship. And then just a quick plug, if you want to be one of these testimonials, by the way, like if you want to be getting an offer from JLR, if you want to be getting an offer from HSBC or Amazon, that sort of thing, then what you can do is go to the first link in the description, and that's where I have my program, which is where I help people more on a personalized basis. I can see a situation, do practice with you, mock interviews, mock group exercises, that sort of thing, and that's going to be super useful. So if you want to be one of these testimonials, you don't even have to go there now. Keep watching this video, and if you get to like halfway through or get to the end, I've impressed you with the value I've given you today, and you're like, wow, this guy actually does know what he's talking about, and then you want more of my help so that you can increase your chances in the application process and be more likely to get accepted to some of these degree apprenticeships, like JLR, for example, then what you can do is go to the first link in the description. But without further ado, let's begin, starting off with finding the right apprenticeships. But just before we do that, let's cover what is a degree apprenticeship, just so everyone watching this video is on the same page and we know what we're talking about. So a degree apprenticeship is an alternative for university for school/college leavers, like when you're 18 plus. So effectively, you'll study your A-levels, or maybe it's another like equivalent qualification, like a level 3. And then when people would usually go off to university, you do a degree apprenticeship instead. Okay, it's just an alternative. Okay, and the way it works is you're studying for a degree part-time whilst also having a full-time job. Okay, and this degree is free. Okay, so you're getting a salary from the full-time job and a free degree, and that is one of the many advantages of a degree apprenticeship is you don't have to pay for your degree, you're not going to get debt, you're not going to get a student loan, and you're going to get a full-time salary. We're going to talk salaries a bit later, but that is basically the benefit of a degree apprenticeship. And in many industries, it's now widely regarded as the better option. Okay, it is regarded, like by professionals in the industry, it is regarded as the better option. For example, engineering, for example, technology and finance as well, really. It's now regarded as the better option. Okay, so you're doing the right thing by watching this video and considering the degree apprenticeship option. So degree apprenticeships usually start in September, so basically a bit like university. So you might be in year 13 and you finish your A-levels, and then in September you're going to either go to university or do a degree apprenticeship, or maybe doing a gap year. It's usually in September. Some companies are different, but basically because a lot of people come out of year 13 and they need something to do in September, they sort of align it with that. Applications are usually from October to March the year before. Okay, so look at that. October is basically 11 months before the start date. Okay, so if you're applying straight after year 13, you're going to have to spend year 13 applying. Okay, so starting in September, October sort of time of year 13. And for finance especially, if you're interested in finance, you need to be in there at September, October, because they are very early. And then some of them are a bit later, like some open in November, some open in December, some open in January, some open in February. And then you usually have like an application process which can run through to March, sometimes spill over to April. But that's like the main bulk of the application window there. And then finally, degree apprenticeships are highly competitive. Okay, because just look at the benefits I've just said there. You're basically getting paid to do a degree, and it's the better option because you're getting work experience and learning useful skills and all this sort of thing. Highly competitive. Okay, it is more competitive than university. Okay, I've done the statistics of it in other videos, but is more competitive than university, which is why you need to make your preparation for it. You need to be serious about it. Okay, because a lot of people go into it thinking they can easily get it and then they don't get it. Right? So it's good that you're watching this video. Basically what I'd say is just make sure you're getting as much information as you can. So take notes if you need to, that sort of thing. Maybe watch it a couple of times. But basically the more minutes of this video that you watch and you understand, the more it's going to help in the application process. Because later I'm going to go into things like the interview, the group exercise. If you've watched those, and on top of that, if you've done practice, link to my program in the description, remember, then you're going to have a much better chance against the competition, because these are highly competitive. You're having a lot of people applying to some of these degree apprenticeships. Okay, so those degree apprenticeships, just so we're all covered, we all know what we're talking about. Let's get into finding the right apprenticeships. This is starting from basics. If you already know what apprenticeships you want to apply to, then fine. I think this section will still be useful for you, because I'm going to tell you some things you probably don't know. But then you can go in the timestamps. But let's start from like base 0 basically, and you don't even know what degree apprenticeships you want to do, right? So starting off with level, this is something you're going to see when you're like applying to stuff. They say level, you're like, what's that level talking about? Basically, for degree apprenticeships, the level we're looking at is 6. Okay, so degree apprenticeships, that is level 6. So subjects, if you want to do a degree apprenticeship, but you're not sure what subject to do, or like what degree apprenticeship, like what degree you're going to be studying, which one to do, just have a think about like what are you interested in and what A-level subjects have you taken, right? Okay. And then think about, would this make a company money? Okay. So for example, this is just something I want to get out of the way. I've seen people asking things like, do they have a geography degree apprenticeship? No, they don't have a geography degree apprenticeship, because geography is not going to make a company money. There's no company out there who, like, they're literally going to make money from geography. Okay, there might be something more specific, like some environmental consultant or transport planning, but not just from geography. Similarly, English literature. There's no English degree apprenticeship, right? Because that doesn't make a company money. Okay, so when you're thinking about what subjects are like available to take, make sure you're thinking in terms of what makes a company money. What makes a company money is engineering, right? Because you have to, like, designing a car, the car gets sold. Okay, or like coding, because you're coding some software, the software gets sold. Or like finance, or being a legal person, or being like HR, right? All of these different roles. What I'd say is go onto the Institute for Apprenticeships website and go and find the apprenticeship standard. Okay, so once you've thought about these 3 things, think about what A-level subjects you take in. Like they don't have an astrophysics degree apprenticeship, right? Because that doesn't make companies money. That's just some, like, studying the stars through a telescope doesn't make anyone money, right? But go to the Institute for Apprenticeships website and find the apprenticeship standard, right? So go through searching there, searching maybe different types of engineering or different types of like law sort of stuff or finance sort of stuff or environmental sort of stuff, transport planning, right? Technology. Okay, it will look like this. I mean, you can search in the bar there and you'll find like the apprenticeship standard, and this is like a document, and this will basically mean you know what to apply for. So say for example this one, this is like a big one for computer science and technology. This is the main one people do, digital and technology solutions. You can go look here and see that it's a thing, right? And then you can look down here as well. You get things like description of the role, so you can go down there, read, see if the role sounds good to you and be like, oh, that would actually interest me. Then you know, okay, I'm going to apply for digital and technology solutions apprenticeship, degree apprenticeship. Okay, so that's what this step is all about. If you don't even know like what degree apprenticeships are available, just have a play around on Institute for Apprenticeships website, see what is available. You'll be like, oh, there's an electrical engineering one, that sounds good. Oh, there's an aerospace engineering one, that sounds good. Oh, there's like this specific one about like manufacturing, right? Oh, there's a specific one which is like laboratory science. That's one that they do with some of the pharmaceutical companies, right? So have a play with that and find it, and then have a read of the description and see if you enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, you want to like enjoy your degree apprenticeship. Otherwise, they're usually like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So you want to like be enjoying yourself and doing something you're fairly interested in. So the strategy for degree apprenticeships and applying to them is apply to as many companies as possible. So degree apprenticeship applications are different to UCAS. Okay, it's not UCAS where you get like 5 university choices and you have to stick to those. Currently, degree apprenticeships, it's all separate on each company's like website. They have their own application process. You can apply to as many as you want. So I've helped people who've applied to 30, and I've helped people who've applied to 1. Right? And what I'd say is, the more you apply to, the better. Okay, because yes, it is possible to apply to just 1 and still get it. Okay, I've done that. I helped someone who the only one they applied to was JLR. I helped them go through mock interviews, mock presentations, all that sort of thing. And they managed to get into JLR, right? but it's not worth the risk. Because remember what I said before, degree apprenticeships are highly competitive. You don't want to just bank all your options on one like apprenticeship that you've applied to. Because say you get rejected from that, then you've got no options. And then also another thing on that is, going through multiple application processes is very good for practice. Okay, if you go to one interview, you're going to be very nervous for that interview. If you've already done 30 interviews before that, you're not going to be nervous, okay? So it's like I applied for about 12, right? There are people who apply for like 20, 30. I would definitely say at least 10, at least. Okay, apply to as many companies as possible. It's absolutely fine. And then basically just choose whichever you want on the back end. Once you have the offers, then choose. You don't want to do it on the front end and choose beforehand. Be like, oh, I don't want to apply to this company. I don't want to apply to this one. Oh, I don't want to apply to this one. And then you apply to one. No, just apply to all of them, even if you don't even like I applied to degree apprenticeships I was never going to do. I applied to some random like digital, like remember this digital and technology solutions one? I don't care about this. This doesn't interest me. My friend was like, oh yeah, should we apply to this one? I was like, sure. I applied to this one for like a pharmaceutical company and I ended up getting the job, right? Doesn't mean I have to take it. Just because you apply doesn't mean you have to take it. But it just meant that once I had the offer, I basically just said no, right? But that one was really good practice for interviews, for presentations. Okay? So even if it's like degree apprenticeships, which you look at them, and I'm going to say some things in a second about like working conditions and how good the company is. Even if that isn't good, just apply to them anyway, just for the practice. Okay, generally, if like, I can tell how like intelligent, intellectual you are by basically who takes on this advice. Because the people who would be like, oh no, I'll be fine doing one offer, and then you end up don't getting the offer, and you can't do a degree apprenticeship. It's like, I've given you the warning, okay? So just be prepared to apply to like 10, 12, 14, 20, whatever, right? It is work, but at the end of the day, it's like, it will pay off, because degree apprenticeships, I can tell you, are very good. And in my opinion, they're better than university, okay? So, but you can't get anything that's good for free, for easily, right? You can't just not do any work. Yes, you're going to have to put in work. Yes, you're going to have to do like 10 application processes or 12 different CVs. I'm going to cover that later. But it's worth the effort because degree apprenticeships are really good, okay? So strategy, apply to loads. Right, okay, so company. If you're applying right now, so if we're, like, as you're watching this video, the time you're watching this video, we're in, like, the October to March application process, and you need to apply right now, and you're, like, looking for companies, and you want to see, like, live vacancies, 2 websites you need to go on. Find an apprenticeships, like the gov.uk website, and Rate My Apprenticeship. There's loads of other ones, but those aren't as good. Make sure you use both of those to search for vacancies, because some appear on one, some appear on the others, but those are the only 2 you need, right? And finally, if you're not in the October to March sort of window, like say you're randomly watching this video in like July, okay, applications aren't open for most companies. So if you go on these websites, there won't really be anything up because it's just not the time of year. What you can do then is just basically just go on Google and just like search some companies in your industry, add degree apprenticeship, and then you'll be able to go on the like information pages. Of course, you won't be able to apply, but you can just go on the information pages to learn about them, see what companies do it. Okay, and that's where you can basically build a whole list of companies. This is what I did, like build like list of like 20 companies that I might apply to, ended up applying to like 12, right? And it basically means, as I said, you can apply to loads, get the practice. Right, so requirements for degree apprenticeships. They will have A-level requirements in terms of subjects and grades, and I've put or equivalent because it can be like level 3 qualifications. That's what an A level is, level 3. It can be equivalent, like BTEC, that sort of thing. Like you'll have to check for specific requirements. But they'll have A level subjects and grades. So, for example, some degree apprenticeships might require maths. For example, if it's an engineering one, it might require maths and like a physical science or something. Other ones, which may be like finance, maybe don't require a subject one. So that's just check for subjects to make sure like you are doing the relevant A levels or whatever. And then also make sure you check the grades for these companies. Grades are typically lower than university, okay? So a really common like grade level for degree apprenticeships is BBC, okay? You'll see that a lot. That degree apprenticeships they just have much lower requirements, okay? Sometimes it can be higher, so it can be 3As, but I've seen them where it's almost always going to be lower than university, okay? So I've seen a university course which required, what would it have been, 2 A stars and an A. But then like the degree apprenticeship equivalent only required 3 As, right? Similarly, a lot of these degree apprenticeships, if you did them at like the university version, you need 3 As in your 8 levels. To do a degree apprenticeship, you need BBC. So it's like they're typically lower grades than university, okay? And grades honestly don't matter as much, okay? compared to like university where you need to get like good grades or whatever. With degree apprenticeships, in the application process, it doesn't matter that much. It's just about meeting the minimum. That's all I'm saying here. Have a look for these requirements. Make sure you meet the minimum. I'm not saying suddenly get 3A stars. I'm saying if your requirements are BBC, make sure you get BBC. Okay? What's more important than grades is your application, which we'll cover that later in the video, and like how attractive you are as a candidate. So just make sure you get the minimum. That's all this slide is about. So working conditions, this is just about what sort of companies you want to choose and what to expect. In 2025 and 2024, and like, well, from now on basically, I really don't think you need to be accepting a degree apprenticeship which pays less than 22,000. Like I was thinking about when I was making this, I was like, should I say 20,000? But it's like, genuinely no. Like these days, good degree apprenticeships pay 22,000 plus. Like 22,000, 23,000, 20. There's companies which pay 25,000, even more, right? So when there's a company who pays £18,000 per year for a degree apprenticeship, it's just not worth. You're just not getting paid enough compared to other companies. It's like, why would I work for an £18,000 company when there's a 22,000 one right here? Like there were companies when I were applying who were paying £16,000 per year. And there were other companies paying 25,000. Of course, I'm not going to go to the 16,000 one, okay? So what I'd say is, by the way, but these working conditions, I'm not saying don't apply to any which are below these. Because as I said, even if you don't want to go, just apply because it's good practice. So I applied to plenty which were like 18,000. I was never going to accept them because that's just way less pay. That's what I'm saying here. But apply to them. And if it's your only option, then fine, take the 18,000. But what I'm saying is if you then end up having multiple offers, as I said, that's the plan. That's what I help people do, get multiple offers. And you have two different offers. One's like 24,000, the other's 18,000. Take the 24,000. Like you'll thank yourself for the extra £6,000 you're getting per year for doing the same job. Okay, so honestly, these days you don't have to accept anything less than that. Okay, next one, 40 hours max per week. With degree apprenticeship, as I said, you're studying part-time whilst doing a job. Okay, which basically means it's roughly 20% of the time you're studying, which means companies are only having you working for their company 80% of the time. So to make that up, some companies put 45 hours in their contract, okay? Don't accept those companies. You're not going to like yourself when for 4 years you have to work an extra 5 hours a week. 40 hours is the normal. That is a 9 to 5, like 9 to 5:30 if you include a half an hour lunch break. 40 hours max. This is one of the number one things I got told by someone when I was applying to degree apprenticeship. The actual guy I got work experience from, he said, if it's 45, don't go anywhere near it, okay? Because that is a toxic company. Because it basically means they're trying to get 5 extra hours out of you for the same pay. Like they're not going to pay you anymore. Like I know there's a degree apprenticeship where it's 45 hours a week and they pay you 18,000. That's an absolute joke because people have a degree apprenticeships where they get paid 25,000 and they have like 37 hours per week. Okay, so 40 hours max per week. Then make sure you check with these companies' hybrid working arrangements because I know a lot of people, especially people doing tech degree apprenticeships, want to work from home or work remotely. Just make sure your company allows that, okay? Because some companies do, but some companies require you to be in the office 2 days a week. Some want you in the office 3 days a week. Some want you more. Okay, so check with the company, and also things like flexible hours. If you can start at 7, like start at 8, start at 9 a.m., like can that be flexed? Those are like key things to do because I know people sort of assume them and then they start their job and then they're sort of shocked and they're like, oh wait, I can't work from home, I have to come into the office, and then like it's not good for them. So just check those working arrangements before. Those are the 3 things I'd recommend you think about when you're thinking about which apprenticeship to accept. But overall, as I said, just apply to loads and just ignore these until after. So there we go. That is finding the right apprenticeships. So now you should basically be able to come up with like a list of degree apprenticeships that you want to apply to. And now it's about becoming more attractive as a candidate. So let me get a drink of water and then we'll continue. So this becoming more attractive section. This is if you have like time before you need to apply. If you literally need to apply to a degree apprenticeship tomorrow, then it's like, okay, fine, you're not going to have time to do this. But this is like if you're watching this video 6 months or a year before you need to apply, then you can try and implement all of these steps from become more attractive. Okay, so these are steps. Get work experience, do volunteering, deliver a presentation, work in a team, do some hard work. The reason this is is because when companies are recruiting for a degree apprenticeship, they want someone who has skills, okay? They want to bring someone into their team who has like communication skills, leadership skills, problem solving skills, creativity, time management skills, right? Resilience, dedication, hard work, all this sort of thing, right? That's what a degree apprenticeship is about. It's like skills. They're looking for who has the skills. The way you show the skills is by having these things here. It's by showing you have the work experience, showing you have the volunteering, showing like you've done a presentation, you have those communication skills and confidence. Show you have those teamwork skills because you've worked in a team. Show you have that resilience. Show you've faced challenges. Show you've solved problems by doing hard work. Right? That's what it's all about. When you put in on your CV these things, it shows you have those skills. It means recruiters want to recruit you, essentially. Right, and then also in the interview they ask a lot of questions which I'll cover later, called like tell me about a time when you've worked as a team, right? And if you've never worked in a team, you're not going to have an answer to that question. Or like tell me about a time when you faced a challenge, and if you've like never done some hard work, you're never going to have faced a challenge. Or like tell me a time when you followed a procedure. If you haven't done anything ever in your life, then you're never going to follow the procedure. Okay, so it's good for the application in terms of CV, but it's also really good for the interview. Now let's go into some more specifics. So the first one, get work experience. This is super crucial. Okay, this is super important, but this is like, I would say, the number one thing they look for on your application, on like your CV, is work experience. Okay, because you get so many skills, but you also get so much knowledge. It shows you're dedicated, all this sort of thing. Shows you're properly interested in the topic. So I'm specifically talking about here about like a work experience placement, right, in the field related to what you're doing. Okay, so say for example you want to do civil engineering degree apprenticeship, get a civil engineering work experience placement. Okay, so that's like a 1 week, 2 week sort of thing, or like 1 day, 2 days, whatever the work experience is, it's getting that sort of placement. Okay, or if you're applying to like a technology degree apprenticeship, get some technology work experience placement for 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever. Okay, in person and virtual is absolutely fine, but in person, if you get in person, especially after COVID, that's going to really differentiate you, because a lot of people don't have in person. If you can get like an in person 1 week, 2 week work experience placement, that's amazing. How do you do that? 3 methods. Number one, official programs. This is like where companies run like official work experience like programs. What you do is you just Google like, again, all the big companies in your industry, and then plus work experience. Okay, so if you're doing technology, PwC work experience. If you're doing finance, KPMG work experience, HSBC work experience. Just Google that, and you'll just go through all the companies, and you'll find that a lot of them have these sort of official programs. You can go click on those, see when they open, apply to those. The next one is cold emails. Basically, find some companies, and I think this one works with small to medium companies in your local area. Okay, so you're probably not gonna like cold email like Amazon, right, and say, oh, can I get work experience? It's probably not going to work. But say there's some like local technology firm in your like town or city, or there's some like local manufacturing plant in your town and city, they're more likely to like give you work experience like from a cold email. Okay, so you basically just get their email address and you send them an email just saying, I would like work experience, and for like 1 week, and then see what they say. Okay, and in terms of like how to structure that email, it's quite similar to a cover letter, which I'm going to cover later in this video. So if you want to go down that route, cold emails, then you can do that. And then finally, in-person networking. That's going to events like UCAS Discovery Fairs. That's one to write down. UCAS Discovery. Have a Google of that later. That's a good in-person event to go to. University Open Days, just STEM events in general, where they have like stands of employers. Okay, so a bunch of employers will be there, and you can go talk to them, right? Or maybe an employer is giving a presentation. Basically, go to these events and then go start talking to the employers. And then basically, once you get talking, you can ask for work experience. And this one can be like fairly successful with getting work experience. That's how I got my in-person work experience. Was I was at a university open day, and they were doing like a talk about degree apprenticeships, and I went up and started talking to the 2 presenters, and they ended up both giving me work experience. Right? Okay, so that's in person. That's preferable. That's great, because like that's going to make you stand out. But if you have to do virtual, no problem. Virtual is absolutely fine. 3 websites for you to find virtual work experience on: Speakers for Schools, Springpod, Uptree. And also I do like work experience updates, which basically give you the best virtual work experience opportunities for degree apprenticeships. I know what to look for, so that can make your time even easier. But so what I'd just recommend in general is I've got a full playlist on work experience. And if you're interested in that, you can go and click the link in the description. That's going to give you more detail about, as I said, those work experience updates. That's just a screenshot of the one I did for summer 2024. And then also more details on how to get in-person work experience and all that sort of thing. So link in the description if you want more information on how to get work experience. So next one is do volunteering. Now, do volunteering is good because you're going to get skills, same as like work experience. Same as like, okay, so having a Saturday job is great. This is how I do this. Having a Saturday job is great for your CV, right? Because it shows that you're learning these skills from doing this Saturday job, right? But at the end of the day, you're getting paid. So it's like people are like, okay, fine, you're doing a Saturday job, you're getting paid. If you do volunteering, it shows you are properly dedicated because you're doing something and you're not getting paid. It's as simple as that. Like volunteering looks really good because you're not getting paid. Okay, how can you do volunteering? Number one, if you're doing DFE, it's sorted, perfect. You have to do volunteering. If you don't do DFE, then you have to just like organize some volunteering yourself. Here's two to do. The first one is like if you do some like weekend/evening volunteering, like something like a charity shop or a food bank. Okay, that's what I'd recommend you start doing. Maybe you do that for like 3 months. Every like Saturday, you go to a charity shop and like you help out there. That's some good volunteering to do. However, even better than that is volunteering at school, because this is going to take like you're going to have to dedicate a slot to it, whether it's one evening a week, whether it's like in the weekend, like or something, right? So it's kind of annoying because you're going to have to like dedicate your slot, lose your free time for that. What's even better is volunteering at school, okay? Because volunteering at school, you can do it. This is what I did throughout the whole of sixth form. You can do it in like lunchtime or like a bit after school or whatever. Especially like lunchtime is really good for this. And it basically means you then don't lose any free time. Because you're at school anyway, right? You're going to be there anyway. So you might as well just do volunteering during lunch, and then you don't have to like commit any extra time in your evenings or weekends because you're just doing it at lunch. So that can be things like sports coaching, mentoring, music, clubs, being a prefect. Find out what you can do at your school and then do that at lunch. It's going to save you so much time, but it's going to tick off that volunteering aspect. So next one is delivering a presentation. So if you've never delivered a presentation before, this is one you need to make sure you do, okay? First of all, identify an opportunity where you can do a presentation. So maybe it's a class presentation. Maybe like there's some sort of assignment that you have to do in like one of your A-levels or something. We have to deliver a presentation. That's a perfect example, okay? If there's nothing like that coming up soon, then just a club or society. Your school might have some clubs or societies where they like do presentations on things. So my school had like an economic society, right? And basically every week someone would do a presentation on a different type of, like a different topic to do with economics. So it's like you could just register, oh yeah, 1 week I'll do a presentation, I'll give the presentation to the club, right? Another one is assembly. Like if there's an opportunity to speak in assembly, that's really good. That's a really good one as well, because that's going to be a lot of people. That could be like 100 people. Imagine it's your whole school assembly. That could be like 1,000 people, a couple of thousand people. Could be a lot of people. That's really good. Like literally, I would put that in my application if I did this one. I did do this one actually. I did a talk in front of 300 people about degree apprenticeships. I put that in my application because it's different levels. It's like class presentation, 30 of people in your class. Assembly, 300 people. That shows confidence. That makes you a really attractive candidate. And then if all of that fails, just do it to your friend group. Genuinely, just make a presentation on something. You want to make these like relevant to your degree apprenticeship. So if you're applying to technology, do on some technology topic. If you're doing engineering, do it on some engineering topic, right? But if these three fail, the next option is literally just do it to your friend group. So make your presentation and be like, right, guys, Thursday lunch, we're going to go into this classroom. I'm going to give you a presentation, right? And then you can just put in your application, deliver the presentation to your classmates. Okay? So if these opportunities aren't available, you don't have an excuse, because I want you to just do it to your friend group. Okay? How to do it. Basically, prepare the presentation. Yep, make it fine. Then practice it 20 times in a row. Okay? This is how you be good at a presentation. Okay? Whenever someone like isn't good at a presentation, or they're not confident, or they end up messing something up, or they sort of forget where they're at their slides, simply because they haven't practiced it enough. Okay? When I'm making presentations, I make it and then I just practice it in a row until I can do it off by heart without even thinking, hit the time limit every time. Okay? And it means you don't end up needing a script or anything. Script isn't good, by the way, for a presentation. Also, don't just write loads of stuff on the PowerPoint. You need to because no one wants to just read off the PowerPoint, right? Do some summary bullet points and then discuss the points, right? Just practice it like 20 times in a row. practice it like 10 times or however much you need. However much you need to like learn the presentation. Just practice it again and again and again and again and again. The more you practice it, the better it's going to be. Okay. And final one here is do it even if you're scared, because you might still be nervous, right? Even if you're just doing it to your friends group, like you might genuinely still be nervous. Especially if you're doing it to assembly, you're probably going to be nervous, right? Just do it anyway. Do it even if you're scared. Do it especially if you're scared, right? You got to take yourself out of your comfort zone, because if you end up not doing stuff because you're scared, it's like you're never going to get anywhere, right? Like if you get like selected to speak for assembly and you have to talk to like 800 people, you will be scared. Okay, it's natural. Just do it anyway. Okay, don't let like the fear control you. Okay, so this is what I want you to do. Even if you're scared, just register for the presentation and just do it, and you'll end up finding it wasn't even that bad, and you actually start enjoying presentations. Like I used to be terrified of presentations, but I just forced myself to do them. Like I was just like, shut up, I don't care, I'm doing it, right? And now I love presentations. Now I like doing presentations, right? You're only going to improve by doing it, so do it even if you're scared. Next one, work in a team, because this shows teamwork and skills, collaboration, communication, super important for the workplace, what they're looking for in a degree apprenticeship. Anything like a class project, weekend, evening job, you can get where you have to like talk to other colleagues. So even if it's like working in Greg's, it's like you might have to coordinate with the manager or coordinate with like the chef. I don't know how Greg's works, right? But something like that. Sports team, really good one if you're in a sports team. And then a work experience placement. You might be with other people and you have to collaborate with them during your work experience placement. And then also like another one is another like skill to have is leadership. So again, you can add leadership into this one. If you're in the sports team and you're like the captain, leadership. But you don't even have to be the captain, right? You can be in the sports team and then you can take on leadership roles, like be helping people, suggesting things about like the subs, I don't know, telling people where to go on the pitch, like all this sort of thing. You can still be a leader and show leadership skills without being the official leader. Okay. Now, do some hard work. This is the final one, like basically just to like cover everything, right? Like do all of the ones before and then basically just do as many of if there's any extra ones, do as many of these as you can, because it's things like creativity, problem solving, grit, all of these different things you'll be able to show as a candidate by doing hard work. If you've never done hard work, you're not that attractive of a candidate. Right, but I'd probably done almost all of these. Yeah, and it can make you a really good candidate. So if you can basically any of these which you haven't done, which you can do, tick them off. It'll show that you've done hard work, and it'll give you scenarios for interview questions for your CV or that sort of thing. So there we go. That is becoming more attractive. Done. Okay, so follow those steps and you'll become more of an attractive candidate. Now we're going to get on to acing the application process. Let me have a drink and then we'll continue. Okay, acing the application process. Let's do this. So the application process is going to be different for every single company. As I said at the start, companies have their own application process. It's not centralized at the moment. That basically means it can be wildly different for different companies. They can have different stages. So I can't tell you right now specifically, right, for your company, it is exactly this, then exactly this. Like this is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. No, because it's different. So what I'm going to do is I've basically had to think of every possible type of thing they do in the application process, and I'm going to cover all of it. Okay? So I'm going to go through some things which probably might not be in your application process, but they'll be in someone's application process. Okay, so there's going to be a whole bunch of sections in this section. It's like, let's say there's 20 sections. You might only need 8 of them, or you might only need 13 of them. You might only need 3 of them, right? But I just want to like cover as many people as possible who are watching this video. Okay, so for example, initial application, details, CV, cover letter, application questions, work experience, education boxes. Some companies don't ask for a CV. Some companies don't ask for a cover letter. Some don't do application questions. Do you know what I mean? But like some companies do, which is why I'm going to cover it. Okay, so let's go. So starting off with details, basically all companies have. This is the one that all companies have because they need to know your details. It's just things like your name, address, phone number, whatever, like potentially your passport number, national insurance number, and then grades. Make sure you fill everything in. Okay, number 1. Some application, I'll give you like a early warning. Some application forms are like annoying to fill in and like they're really clunky and old and it takes a while, and it's like you have to do loads of stuff to like put your grades in. It's kind of annoying, but just make sure you fill everything in. You don't want to miss anything out, because then your thing will get rejected. And also don't lie. Like I've heard of people like lying on their grades because they'll check them later in the application process, and then once they realize that you've lied, they'll just reject you and you've wasted your time. Okay, so if you don't have the grade, you don't have the grades. It is what it is. Don't waste your time, just move on. Okay, so fill everything in, don't lie. Right, now your CV. This is one of the most important documents. Okay, if you've never made a CV before, let me walk you through the structure of what a CV is. CV is basically just a document which summarizes why you should get the job. Okay, in terms of it summarizes your skills and experience. Okay, so they can look at your CV and be like, oh, this person's really experienced. Oh, this guy's got loads of skills. Yeah, let's hire him. Or they can look at someone else's CV and be like, this guy's got nothing. Why would I want him in my company? That's what the CV is about. Okay, this is how you structure it. Full name as title. Okay, you don't have to put like CV or literally just put your full name as the title. Then you want to list your details. Okay, so location, colon, then put your location. This doesn't have to be like your address. This is like your area. So potentially like the city you live in, or like just the area you live in, like the county, that sort of thing. So that's the sort of thing for location. You could just put location London, right? Location Liverpool, that sort of thing. And then you put your phone number, then you put your email address, and then you can put your LinkedIn. Okay, I want to just do a disclaimer on LinkedIn. I know a lot of people, especially in like year 12, make a LinkedIn account because they're like, oh yeah, this is going to help with like getting a job and all this sort of thing. Your LinkedIn has to be either 100 or don't have it at all. Okay, a lot of people make a LinkedIn account, but then they don't really do anything. They don't even add a profile picture, they don't add a description, they don't post, they don't add their details, any of this stuff. If that's you, don't even link your LinkedIn and probably just delete your LinkedIn account. Okay, because that's just going to reflect badly on you if you have a LinkedIn account which looks kind of trash. Okay, if you have a LinkedIn account which is like genuinely like going to help your application, it's positive, so it's like you filled everything out, okay, so it looks professional, you got a profile picture, you've done a bio, you've got a whole list of all your experience and like education on your LinkedIn, you do posts, you have connections, all this sort of thing, absolutely fine. This is where you can link your LinkedIn under this details section. Okay, but if it's like half done, just get it out of there, otherwise it'll leave a bad impression. Next one is the personal statement. Now this isn't like university UCAS personal statement. It's like they use the same word, it's kind of annoying, but this is like a degree apprenticeship personal statement. What it is, it's like a 3 to 4 sentence paragraph at the very start of your CV, so just after the details, which sort of explains who you are, what you want, and your skills and qualities. So I've got 2 examples for you here. Remember, who you are, what you want, skills and qualities. So who you are, motivated, year 13 student. What you want, you're looking for a degree apprenticeship in the construction industry. Okay, so there's 2 examples, just so you can compare and like use these for inspiration. First sentence is usually the same, and then you just do like two or three more sentences, just basically just talking about your skills and qualities, basically summarizing everything. Okay, and what you can do is look at the job description for the job you're applying for, and if you can use those skills in your personal statement and throughout the rest of your CV, to be fair, that's a really good way of doing it. Okay, so this one, like, I would have looked at the job description and it would have said, we need someone who's a good communicator, we need someone who's interpersonal skills, we need someone who can work in a team, we need someone who can solve problems, right? Guess what? I've just gone and put those straight in my personal statement, straight in my CV, because that means when they're going through my CV, they'll be like, oh, they literally have the job description next to them and they need to tick off all the things in the job description. So if you do that, then of course you're going to get through to the next stage. Okay, that's literally the cheat code, by the way, for like having a good application, is just tick off everything in the job description. So I was doing this like a year in advance. I knew the companies I wanted to apply to, and I got their job description. I was like, okay, this one's asking for communication. It's asking for this specific work experience. It wants me to do a presentation in a certain topic, and it wants me to like attend an industry event. That's in the job description. I'm going to do all of those 3 over the next year. Okay, maybe you don't have a year, but what you can do is just, in the job description, use similar words from the job description. Like the same word. Don't like copy and paste any sentences or anything stupid like that, but use the same word. So interpersonal would have been in the job description for that one. Right? Or like solving problems efficiently, solving problems efficiently would have been in the job description. Okay, so that's your personal statement there. Slightly different to UCAS one, just 3 or 4 sentences, just a nice little introductory paragraph. There's some examples for you there if you need some inspiration. Right. So once you've done the personal statement, the next stage is education, and this is where you just list your A levels, and like your predicted grades for those, and then also your GCSEs and your grades or whatever. Right. Work experience. This is where you can put your work experience placement plus your volunteering. Okay, and here you want to aim to have like 3 or 4 bullet points. The way you structure these things in your CV is you sort of write the name of the work experience, so the company. So it might be PwC work experience placement. Then you'll put the date. So that might be July 2024. And then that's where you write like a paragraph after that describing what you did in the work experience. So it might be 3 or 4 sentences again. So like talking about what you learned, what skills you developed. Okay, those are the 2 important things you need. What you learn in terms of knowledge, but also what skills you develop. Because remember, they are hiring an employee. They want an employee who has skills, who's going to be able to do the job they need to do. So who has teamwork skills, collaboration skills, attention to detail, time management, perseverance, creativity, administrative skills, technical skills. Look at the job description. And you can put volunteering in there as well. Then there's the key achievements section, and this is where basically list everything else that you would have done in the previous section about becoming a more attractive candidate. So things like online courses, things like maybe you won an award at school, things like maybe you're part of a club, maybe you've got like a certification, maybe you play a musical instrument, right? Maybe you did a presentation, all that sort of thing. Put that in key achievements again, list the thing, put a date, and then do like a couple of lines like description about like going into more detail about it, what you learn, that sort of thing. Okay. Once you do that, it should be 2 pages, maximum of 2 pages. There are people who talk about degree apprenticeships and they say, oh, keep your CV to 1 page. I'll be honest, they don't know what they're talking about. Do not keep your CV to 1 page. Like people, oh, you have to keep it to 1 page so it's concise or whatever. It's like, no, I think I was going to say, I think you are better off doing 2 pages. Okay, people who say 1 page is, just trust me, they don't know what they're talking about. Make sure it's 2 pages. Obviously, don't do 3 pages or anything like that. 2 pages is the max. And it's like my CVs, just for just out of interest for you, my CVs were all like 1 3/4 pages. And I'd have like 4 bullet points for work experience, and then I'd have like 8 bullet points for key achievements. Right, and I ended up getting 8 degree apprenticeship offers. The people who say you only need 1 page, it's like, it's not true, is it? Right, so then cover letter, again, some companies do ask for a cover letter, and you've probably never written a cover letter before, so let me just explain that right now. Cover letter, first of all, it's a letter, which means you need to present it like a letter. Maybe you've never written a letter before, that's fine. Basically, I'll teach you right now, when you do like formal letters, proper letters, like the proper way you send, like if you get like a letter from like your bank or like the government or something, it will be formatted like this. It will have because it's from them, it'll have their address and date in the top right. When you are sending it, it will have your address and date in the top right. So when you're writing it, go onto Word and like just do the indent to make it go to the top right. Do the address and date on the top right. So it'll be like address line 1, address line 2, address line 3, like town, city, postcode, then like 14th of October 2024. And then you come back down to the left and then write the whole thing. Okay, and just quickly, you don't need templates. I see loads of people wasting time as well on how to present your CV. Oh, should I do it in colours? Should I do these sections? It's a genuine waste of time. If you want to do that, then fine. And okay, fine, your CV looks a bit better, fine, whatever. But I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend literally just go on Word, write the whole thing, and just underline like the titles. That's what I did. I didn't. That's what I used for all of mine. I just used Word. I just wrote the thing, underlined, made like the title a bit bigger, made the title bold. Okay, I didn't use any of these CV templates. Oh, I'm going to write it in blue. I'm going to write it in red. I'm going to do like a little section. I'm going to include a GIF in my CV. Like, no, okay? If you want to, absolutely fine. But it's like your time would be better spent elsewhere just writing the CV. You don't have to worry about templates or any rubbish like that. Same with cover letter. You don't need the template. Just literally just go into Word and type it. So once you've done your address and date in the top right, go to the top, then move back to the left. And this is what you need to write. Dear Sir/Madam, usually you're not going to know the recruiter. If you know the recruiter, put your name, but usually put their name, sorry. But for degree apprenticeships, usually you don't. Then it's just an introduction. So just something like, I'm looking to apply for your degree apprenticeship, or I'm writing to apply for your degree apprenticeship, or I'm applying to the degree apprenticeship at company XYZ, right? Introduction by yourself, I'm a year 13 student, and then just say 1 fact about yourself. Then a paragraph about research, okay? So this is where you can talk about, oh, I know that the company has done this project and that really interests me. I saw how that you did this specific thing which increased like productivity by 10%, and then you use this new artificial intelligence thing on that scheme in Kenya and it did something, right? Go on their website, look for things like values, things like projects, okay? Then what I do is I do 2 paragraphs, one on work experience and then one just on my extra skills. So I basically did 1 paragraph like summarizing my work experience, talking about, oh, I did this work experience. And I mean, I didn't say, oh, at the start of my cover letter, but I was talking about the work experience in 1 paragraph. Then I did another paragraph just like sort of summarizing my skills, saying I've done this like presentation, which gave me communication skills, and I did D&V and all this sort of thing, right? And then you just do a summary, which is like, I'm eager to work for your company and I look forward to hearing from you. Something like that, okay? And then you finish it with yours faithfully and then your name. Yours faithfully if it's a sir/madam, if you know their name, put yours sincerely, put your name, and then like bonus tip for you right now. You know people who have like iPads and they have like those pens and you write stuff. If you can write your signature on one of those iPad pens, right, after your name, so you put yours faithfully, then put your full name printed, and then like a sort of drawn signature on your cover letter. That looks so professional. That's what I did. I don't have one of these iPads, but when I was making my cover letter, I asked my friend, oh, can I use your iPad? And I like wrote out my signature, and then I like copy pasted it into the document and just had it at the bottom. It looks super professional when you have like a sort of professional digital signature like that. It looks super good. Cover letter, maximum 1 page. So now application questions. A lot of companies on top of CV and cover letter, they also ask application questions, and these can be things like, why do you want to work for the company? Or tell us about a topic you're interested in, right? Or what would you do if you had to work in a team and they were having problems? It can be absolutely anything. Companies will do anything with these application questions, and they have like a word limit. So it'll be like 200 word limit, and you have to answer the question. Tell us about your experience, or tell us why you'd be a good candidate, right? Make sure you use all the space available, okay? So if it's a 300 word question, your word count needs to be 294 words, 298 words, 299 words, that sort of thing. Don't do it at 150 words because you're just missing an opportunity. Because the more opportunities you have with the CV, cover letter, application questions, it's just more opportunities to like list your experience, list your achievements, show your skills. If you end up like, for example, some companies, the cover letter, right, is optional. You don't have to submit it. So it's like, oh, okay, fine, don't submit it. But it's like, you've just missed out a whole A4 piece of paper where you could have listed a work experience, said your extra skills, showed your research, shown you're a really good candidate, show you're professional, show you're dedicated. But just by not doing a cover letter, you've missed that opportunity. Same with the application questions. If you have 300 words, you need to write 300 or 299, 298, whatever. Okay? Don't just copy material from your CV and cover letter. This applies to all 3. So there's basically like 3 different types of application they can do. And a lot of them do all 3. CV, cover letter, and application questions. Don't be repeating stuff. Okay? Because if you repeat stuff, you're copying stuff. It's not going to help you, right? But say, for example, in your CV, you have like 4 work experience here. Then in this one, you have a completely different work experience. Then in one of the application questions, then they say, why you're a good candidate. You have a completely different work experience. All of a sudden, you have like 6 work experiences. Right? So don't just copy and use the exact same things. Don't use the exact same skills, exact same achievements. Don't use the exact same research in your cover letter and application questions. Do different things, okay? Because it basically means you get an opportunity to show off your skills more, and it means you're not like missing an opportunity to impress them. The next one is make sure you personalize to the company. Don't just copy and paste. So if they get an application question, which is like, why do you want to work for the company? And then you apply for a different company and you get the same question, don't just copy and paste. I had a session working with some like early careers recruiters quite recently, and they can tell that this is what they told me. They can tell when you don't personalize it. Okay, when something's just copy and pasted, it's like it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't specifically match the question because the question will have been slightly different. Sometimes people even leave like the old company name in the application question. Right? How ridiculous is that? They copy and paste and they like forget to change the company name. Okay? So make sure you personalize the company and you basically write, what I recommend is write it from scratch each time that you're doing the application and you're writing the application questions, okay? When you're writing these, refer to company values, okay? So if you've never heard of that before, companies have like values, you can find them on their website. Just Google like company values, like the company name and values. So for example, search like PwC values, KPMG values, all that sort of thing, right? Give me one sec. And then you'll find them. It's things like collaboration, ownership, safety, integrity, unity, customer love, all that sort of thing. Like those sort of abstract nouns, I think they're called, like qualities, like or weird sort of stuff like that. Those are the company values. If you can refer to them, be like, I know that you have the company value of impact, and this is important to me because I like making a positive impact in the world. That sort of thing. And also just mention projects, company news, things that like they're working on right now. So it's similar to like the research paragraph, depending on what the application question is. So right, this is a very specific one that some companies do. This is like a new sort of form of application. So in general, like the standard one is like CV, cover letter, application questions. Some companies are starting to do some different things. One of them is like the work experience / education boxes. That's like the term I've coined for it, right? And this is where like this is the only thing they do in the application process, in terms of the initial application. Sorry, it's basically where you don't write a CV or a cover letter or application question or anything like that. You just have to fill out work experience and education boxes. Okay, so there's 2 sections to this application form. This is all it looks like, and this is a lot of companies now. This isn't just one company. For me, it was about a third of companies who do this, and it potentially could even be. It's like rising. I think it's about a quarter of companies do this now, something like that. And basically, there's an education section, a work experience section, and you have to fill those in. So here's an example of the work experience section here. It's basically where you get a box like this, where you can write the employer, the position, the dates, and then you get like 200 words to write it. Right, and basically you can add as many boxes of those as you want. So you could add like 8 different boxes where you have 8 different work experience. But for each work experience, you only get like roughly 200 words. Okay, to like describe what you learn, what happened, all that sort of thing, right? And then with the education boxes, basically you just list all your qualifications. Like you just press add qualification, fill it in, add qualification, fill it in, add qualification. You're just making more and more boxes until it's all completely done, right? So what are my tips for these work experience and education boxes? Well, there's no opportunity to write anything else, okay? First of all, as I said, you only can make these boxes. There's no application questions, no CV. It's just these boxes. You have no opportunity for anything else. You need to focus on quantity of work experience and quantity of education, okay? Because for each work experience, you can only do 200 words, okay? So if you've got one work experience box of 200 words, compare that to someone who's got 8 work experience boxes of 200 words. The person who has 8 has more experience than you from the perspective of the recruiter. So you need to focus on how can I make as many of these boxes as I can? How can I make as many of these boxes as I can? Okay, the way you do that is by adding extra things. Okay, so for the work experience section, don't just add work experience. Add things like DFE, add things like volunteering, things like clubs, things like doing a presentation. Okay, loads of stuff that like, okay, fine, it's not work experience, but it's relevant. And it means, okay, fine, maybe you've only done 2 real work experience, write those in, but then add like another 6 boxes where you did like some like class project or you did some like volunteering or that sort of thing. Okay, that's what I did. Just add loads of extra stuff just so you can get more stuff in. Same with education, add extra things. It doesn't have to just be your GCSEs or your A-levels. It can be things like some like random qualification you did. I had to do this qualification for my work experience, so I added that in. Or maybe you did like you have like a music award, like maybe you did grade 8 violin or something, or grade 4 violin, right? Or you did like some public speaking award. Even though they're not GCSEs or A-levels, absolutely fine to add into your education section. That's how you do those work experience and education boxes applications. So now we're going to move on to the intermediate stages. Okay, so that's covered the initial application, what you're going to have to do on like day 1 when you have to apply to the company. Okay, once you've applied to the company, you're then going to hear back from them, and this can be, by the way, very fast. This can be, and it can be very slow. So the fastest companies will do this stage 1 day after you apply. Okay, so you submit your CV, and they're very quick with it. They've obviously got people on top of it. You submit your CV, and then like 1 day later, 2 days later, they send you like, oh, here's what we're going to do next. It is usually online testing and a video interview. Okay, usually. As I said at the start of this like section, All the companies will have different processes. Check their processes. I'm just trying to cover everything. Usually, it can be online testing or a video interview. It also can take about 4 or 5 months. Like genuinely, I applied to a company. They didn't reply for like 4 months after me submitting my CV. Right? If that happens, I'd say like just email them. If at any point you're like, why haven't they replied? Just email them. So it can be like you haven't heard from them for 2 months. You're like, wait, what's going on? Just email them, no problem, and just check, see where it's at. Right? So 2 types they can send: online testing, video interview. Online testing, if you've ever done one of these before, you know that these are a load of rubbish. Okay, I don't agree with them because they're just stupid. They're just like personality tests, situational judgment tests, numerical logic, architecture. They're like game-based assessment. It's like where you have to like click stuff on a screen, or like you're doing some little personality tests and it's supposed to like find your strengths. And I just think these are or like situational judgment. It's like you have to choose the right thing. These are very hit or miss. Okay, something like numerical or logic, yep, those are fine. I agree with those because it's like numerical is where it like tests you on maths, right? And it's like, okay, fine. And then like the people who are best at maths are going to get through to the next stage. There's so much of logic, like spotting patterns, verbal reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, attention to detail, and it's like, yep, fine. But it's the ones like personality, game-based assessments, what they're called, where you have to like just click stuff on a screen and like literally play like mini games, video games, and then it tells you if you're a good candidate. They're a bit stupid, right? But there's so many different types. I couldn't possibly go through them all in this video. So what I'd recommend is just watch the full guides I've done on online testing. Again, all the links will be in the description. But what I'd say is just get practice by applying to lots of companies, okay? Like as I said at the start, just apply to lots and lots of companies. It's good practice. For example, Arctic Shores, it's a game-based assessment. I failed it twice, and then I was successful on the 3rd time. Okay? If I had just like applied to one company, they gave me Arctic Shores, I would have got it. Like it's super hard to actually understand what to do. It's like the first 2 times I didn't really know what I was doing. The 3rd time, by the 3rd time, I'd worked out how the rules work, how the mark scheme works, and all that sort of thing. So I was able to sort of like play along with the game, play the rules basically. But if I just applied to one company, I would have got rejected, and that was that. However, if you apply to loads of companies, even companies you don't even care about, then it's like, say you get some online testing from them, great, you can have a practice. Then when the real one comes around, which you actually want, oh, guess what? You've already done Arctic Shores 2 times, okay? Or you've already done like a situation before. Okay, so it's like, watch my full guides because then you'll learn more about them. But like even better than that is just apply to a whole bunch of companies so you get loads of practice. Because then once you've done like 4 situational judgment, you sort of know what the kind of thing you need to do is. Once you've done Arctic Shores a couple of times, you know what the sort of thing you need to do is. Next one's video interviews. So these are different to a normal interview. Okay, so in a second we'll go into like the normal interviews where you're like talking to a person, they're asking you questions. This is a video interview because you're just speaking to a camera, like your laptop webcam, and the camera records you. Okay? So there's like no one with you. There's no one on the call asking you questions. Basically, text like appears on the screen, and then you just speak into the camera and it records you, right? It's different to a normal interview as well because you get given time to think about the answer usually. Well, always, actually. It is always. In a video interview, you get time to think about the answer. In a real interview, it's like they ask the question and it's like within 5 seconds, within 10 seconds, you have to say the answer, right? It's like, why do you want to apply for this job? I'd like to apply to this job because I was really interested by what I saw in your job description, in particular about how you can make a positive impact on the world. Like that's the sort of like speed you have to answer with. Like you get like 5-10 seconds to think about it. With this one, video interviews, they usually give you 1 minute, 2 minutes to like prepare your answer. So that the text will come on screen, and then you get 1 minute or 2 minutes to prepare that answer. Okay, and also on top of that, they sometimes can let you re-record. Okay, this is. Most companies do let you re-record. Sometimes you can re-record twice. So say you start filming the video and you like mess up, you can re-record. Okay, and then your video answer will have a time limit. Okay, so the question will pop up on screen. It'll be like, you have 1 minute to prepare, then you have 2 minutes to film your answer, and then you have 3 re-records. Right, so it means you can prepare for 1 minute, record your answer, aim to keep it 2 minutes long. Okay, so at 2 minutes, the recording will stop, so it has to be less than 2. But if it's at 2 minutes, make sure you're speaking for 1 minute 50, 1 minute 55, 1 minute 58. Don't speak for 30 seconds, okay? They're not going to get you through to the next stage. It's as simple as that. And then if you mess up, you can re-record. Here's the best strategy. In the time to think about the answer, what you want to do is make a couple of bullet points on a piece of paper on basically the direction you want to go in. Okay, so why would you like to work for this company? Quickly, I mean, that question you should know already, but that question, you can like bullet point down and be like, okay, so I'm going to mention this project they did. I'm going to mention this project they did. I'm going to mention this like company value they have, and then I'm going to mention this like benefit that I found on their website. Okay, and then it means as a reminder as you go through the answer, you don't get lost. Similarly, if they ask you a question like, what would you do if you had to work in a team and one of the team members was being difficult? Okay, so what you do is you get your bullet points and you'd write down like I would like talk to member, listen to feedback, give my opinion, example from school, right? And that would tell me, okay, I'm going to say in this situation, what I'd do is I'd talk to the member to try and understand where they were coming from, and I'd make sure I'd listen to them because potentially there's something I've missed and I want to understand everyone's opinions. I know that one of the values of your company is collaboration, so I know that it's important to listen to other people's viewpoints and take on those perspectives. So I'd listen to his opinion to see what the issue was, and then what I'd do is once that issue was listened to, it usually means it can fix the thing because now I know what I need to do. I'll give you an example of this. So I was on a school project in school and we were working on producing this business and this thing happened. Right? I'm waffling, right? But that's the sort of thing you'd say. You'd list down those bullet points, then go through your answer, right? Best strategy is to not re-record. Okay? Because usually the first time you do something, it's the best. Okay? It's the same with a YouTube video. I avoid re-recording. Even if like there's a bit in the video which I kind of mess up, it's like the first time you do it, it's usually the best, and then the second time you're like overthinking it and all this sort of thing. And it's so if you like completely mess up, you like literally stop talking halfway through because you completely forget where you're going. You like fall off your chair during the video. During the video interview, then like during that recording, then fine, re-record, right? But I think in general, if your answer's good enough and you get through it and you do the time limit and you answer the question, best strategy is not to re-record because it'll probably be worse the second time. You'll be overthinking it. You'll be sort of getting kind of worried. It's like you're going to be answering with more confidence the first time you do it. Okay, so that's the best strategy there. More information on video interview, I've got a full guide on it, link in the description. So now moving on to the assessment centre. So this is the last stage of the application process usually. As I said, companies do this all differently. So there are some companies who have like multiple assessment centres and like maybe they'll do an interview first and then on a separate day they'll do all this sort of thing. Some companies have a networking event, some don't, right? But it's like in general, these are sort of what you're going to get in assessment centres, which are like a sort of day near the end of the application process, usually the last thing. So it's like you'll have to take a day off school. Usually if it's a full assessment centre day, it can go from like 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. Can be just a morning 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Or it can just be an interview, like a 2-hour interview where you do the presentation or the case study and the same thing. Okay, but it's usually the last part of the application process. Once you do the assessment centre, it's then you usually wait like 7 days and you'll get a phone call saying that you've got an offer or you don't have an offer. Right. Now that I think about it, when booking assessment centres, they like to phone a lot. With the previous stages, if you're successful in the initial application, so you've submitted your CV, you're successful, they'll probably email you. If you do online testing, they'll probably, like when they come to tell you about online testing, they'll probably email you. Those first 2 stages are a lot by email. For some reason, companies like phoning you for the assessment centre. So that's just something to bear in mind. Make sure you don't have any like stupid voicemails that you had from like you made when you were in like year 7, and make sure like around the time you're applying, make sure you pick up phone calls from random numbers. I don't pick up phone calls from random. To be honest, I don't even pick up phone calls from people I know, right? But around the application process time, just make sure you are specifically picking up phone calls from phone numbers, especially if they have like an area code near where you've applied. So you know how like phone numbers at the start, they have like a bunch of digits, like what is it? Is it 0161 Manchester? Something like that. If you applied to one in Manchester and it says 0161, then pick that up because that's probably going to be the company you've applied to saying, oh, by the way, you've got through to the assessment centre. Okay, so now let's go through the different stages which can be possible in the assessment centre. Let me have a drink and then we'll get started. Okay, so actually before we get into those stages, just a bit of setup for the assessment centre. What should you wear? Dress the smartest. A lot of companies these days like to say a thing where it's like, oh, you don't have to dress smart, dress for your day, dress kind of casual. I was with some recruiters the other day and they were saying like, don't wear a suit, wear like jeans or something. And I was like, no, do not wear jeans. What you want to do is dress the smartest, okay? You're never going to regret overdressing. Like, I think people overdressing gets too much hate, right? Because like, oh, you don't want to overdress, avoid overdressing. Honestly, if you overdress, no one cares, bro. There's no, like, they're like, oh, don't overdress, okay? Make sure you check the dress code or whatever. Overdressing is not a problem, okay? You're never going to regret overdressing. You are going to regret underdressing, okay? If you turn up to an assessment centre, virtually or in person, everyone else is in like a suit and a tie, and you're in jeans and a t-shirt, I can tell you for a fact right now, you are going to regret that. Let's say everyone else is in a jeans and a t-shirt, and you turn up in like a suit, you're not going to regret that. Dress the smartest. It's professional. It's about having standards, and it's going to make you look like a better candidate. Okay, so in general, a lot of what companies say is like smart casual. So a lot of people put on a white shirt, with no tie, or they have like a sweatshirt. What I'd recommend, this is for like men by the way, what I'd recommend is a suit and a tie. Not many people wear a tie in the assessment centre, but it makes you stand out. Like me and my friend, we have this like tie from school, which is like, it's like a really good colour, which like stands out. It's sort of gold. We would always put that on for the assessment centres that we do, right? Because it stands out. No one else is wearing a tie. And then on top of that, it's not even a normal tie. It's like a really nice, professional, good-looking tie. Stands out. It means they're going to remember us. They're going to be like, that's the one guy who's in a suit and he was in this golden tie. When they remember you, that's who they decide to give the job. Right? If they forget about you as a candidate, they're not going to give you the job because they're going to be like, oh, this guy exists. I forgot about him. They need to remember you when the assessors like all talk afterwards, right? Dress the smartest. Okay? So these days, assessment centres, in the majority, are virtual. Okay? Tips for that, basically. Make sure you look into the webcam whenever you're speaking, okay? So it's about eye contact. It's a lot more engaging. For example, you can see me throughout this video. I'm trying to look in the webcam as much as I can. Because, like, say I'm talking here, and I'm, like, looking like this, right? It's kind of jarring. Okay, so look at me in the bottom left right now. It's kind of jarring if I was speaking to you like this. But imagine I'm speaking to you like this, and I'm talking to you about how you can get a degree apprenticeship, and you can like complete your dreams of being an engineer, right? Okay, it's a lot better than me just looking down here. It's like I'm making eye contact. It's a lot more engaging. So that's what you need to do during anything virtual, is make sure you're staring directly into the webcam like this. Some people even put like post-it notes just like above their camera, like around here, saying like pointing at the webcam, like look at the webcam, right? I don't need to do it because I've done it so much that I remember it, right? But if it's like your first virtual interview, you're not really accustomed to looking at the webcam. Look at the webcam. It's a massive difference. Even if you're just looking a tiny bit below at like the screen, you end up just looking at yourself. I'm staring at myself right now, right? That's what you can end up doing when you're on a virtual thing. I'm staring at myself. My eyes are slightly low. It's kind of a bit off-putting, right? That's better. I'm looking at you right now. I can see you. Okay, right. Okay. I hope that wasn't weird. That wasn't meant to be weird. Right. Have lighting in front of you. Okay. This is just, it's not an essential, but it's just kind of better. At the end of the day, if you don't have a professional like lighting setup, like fine, whatever. But what I'm saying is, don't have a window behind you. Okay, the window needs to be like that direction. Okay, or like if you have a lamp, make it that direction. You don't want something behind you because then like your face and the front of you is gonna be super dark and they're not gonna be able to see you. And it's like they're sort of subconsciously gonna less likely to do you because you're all like in shadow, right? But if it's like if you're in good lighting, you want your window. So my window's there, like that direction. And I have a lamp there, all in front of me, okay? Behind me, you don't want light shining in this way, okay? Have lighting in front of you. And then I saw someone ask this, headphones are fine. Like someone was asking me, oh, can I use headphones? Headphones are fine, whatever, speaker, whatever, use a microphone, whatever, no one cares, right? Whatever you want. And then in person, 2 key things. Number 1, make sure you get a handshake with every assessor you meet, and eye contact. Let's be honest, these days, I swear like 50% of the population are like socially awkward, right? 50% probably is conservative, right? So if you're the one guy who goes into a handshake in every interaction, not every interaction, like if you've seen the guy 20 times in the day, don't then go for a handshake. But I'm saying if you go in for a handshake the first time you meet everyone, amazing impression. Just like dressing the smartest, they're going to remember you as that professional person, got confidence, right? Same with eye contact. In person, when you're like not making eye contact, it's like, it's just a bit jarring for like communication. Whereas if you're the guy who can confidently make eye contact with the interviewer, It makes you look professional. It makes you look like they want you, right? Because you have proper communication skills. With eye contact, a lot of people say, "Oh, don't stare into their eyes or anything." Bro, just look in their eyes like the whole time. Okay, don't overthink it. You can overthink, be like, "Oh, but I don't want to like look in their eyes because it's creepy." Honestly, no one cares. When people are talking to me, I just look them in the eyes, and I don't do it like 70% of the time. It's like if your eye contact is bad, you are better off just looking into their eyes the whole time. So just look into their eyes, like not in a. That sounded fruity when I said that. No, just look at their eyes. That's better. I'm not look into their eyes. Oh my. Okay, just look at their eyes, make eye contact. And when you like meet someone, meet an assessor, say you go into the room, go in for the handshake for them. If you go in for the handshake, it's not awkward. It can sometimes be awkward if you're standing there meeting a new person, then you're like, oh, should I handshake? Should I handshake? Da, da, da. You're waiting for them to move. Then it just makes you awkward for you and you're overthinking in your head and you can't focus, right? So just be decisive, put the action on yourself, go in for the handshake. So whenever I meet someone in an assessment centre or at work or on a first day or whatever, it's like, just you be the person to go into the handshake. Like, in COVID, people were doing like the Boris Johnson like elbow sort of thing, but like no one cares about handshakes anymore. Like maybe there's one person who wears like a mask and still uses hand sanitizer. Fine, whatever. 99% of people don't care and they'll handshake. Okay. Right, this is how you handshake, okay? This is just like, as I said, this video is going super in detail just because there's probably someone watching this video who genuinely like doesn't know how to handshake. This is how you do it, okay? Boom. Okay. The reason I showed you that video wasn't for the speed. Like, don't go into a handshake this slowly. Right? Don't get into your interview and then just do that. What I'm saying is right hand. That's what I want to emphasize with that video. Right hand. Right hand. That's the grip you go. And basically, once you're gripped in there with your right, I don't care if you're left-handed, right hand. Once you're gripped in there, 1 or 2 shakes, let go. Now, a lot of people talk about grip with a handshake. You don't want to overthink it. Because people are sort of aware that with a handshake you're supposed to grip hard, right? Otherwise, like it's like if your hand's like super floppy, then it's all weird. So you want to grip hard. But the thing is, people take that too far. They end up gripping super hard, especially if it's a woman. You're going to hurt them if you grip. Okay, so you don't want to be like squeezing or anything. The analogy I use is imagine you're holding your phone. So you know when you're like walking out in public, and you're just like holding your phone in your hand. That's the sort of grip you want. You don't want it super floppy because then it's going to drop out your hand. But you don't want to be squeezing it like so hard that your knuckles start like tensing and going white and anything like that, okay? Just imagine you're holding your phone and just shake their hand like that, 1 or 2 things like that, and then that does the job, okay? Boom. Right. Let's move on to the interview. Okay, so interviews and degree apprenticeships, by the way, just a quick introduction. They usually say things like it lasts an hour and a half. Usually it's a lot less than that. So if it's an hour and a half, it ends up being an hour. If it's supposed to be an hour, it ends up being 45 minutes. Okay, they just sort of overestimate that time. So don't worry if you've got an invitation for an interview and it's saying hour and a half interview, it probably won't be that long. Okay. These are the types of questions they ask you in the interview. Number 1 is just standard questions. And these are questions like for like all jobs. Like you could just Google job interview questions. It doesn't have to be even degree apprenticeship related, just job interview questions, and it'll be these sorts of things. So things like, why do you want to work for this company? Why do you want this role? What do you know about this role? What do you expect to be doing? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Tell us about yourself. Right? Those sort of generic questions. What do you know about our company? Right, so you should be able to just prepare those, like, sort of in advance, you know your answers. When they ask you what are your strengths, you're like, I'm going to say my strengths are leadership, communication, and time management. Right, like, you know, okay, if they ask for my weakness, I'm going to say that my weakness is I give too much detail on things. Or I, like, go over my working hours or something. Right? Whatever, right? Prepare for those standard questions. The next type is STAR questions, okay? These ones that start tell me about a time when. Okay, STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. And that's how you answer these questions, okay? So tell me about a time. These are super common. Remember earlier in the video when in the Be More Attractive section, I was saying you need to deliver a presentation, you need to get work experience, you need to do volunteering, you need to do hard work, you need to do all these sorts of things, work in a team. That is really good for these interviews. Not just good for the CV, it's good for the interviews. Because it means when there's a question, tell me about a time when you worked as a team. Oh yeah, you've worked as a team because you followed my advice. And it means you can say, oh yeah, so the time when I worked as a team was when I did da-da-da-da-da, right? Or tell me a time you worked really hard. Screenshot this page right now. Let me just screenshot that, right? You just wanted to just pose for the photo. And then prepare examples for all of like these, because these are like the common ones. Prepare examples for all of these. So if they ask you a question, tell me about a time when you led a project, you can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to use that example when I was on D&V and the group got lost and some people in the group started crying and I like led them off the mountain or something, right? Okay. STAR, what's that about? That's the way you answer the question. Situation, task, action, result. So you say the situation. Tell me about the time you worked as a team. So we were in the cup final of my football team, right? And the task was we wanted to win. But we were like losing 3-0 or something. That's like the situation, task bit. So the action was at half time, what I did was I suggested we all listen to each other. Everyone started talking at once. So I suggested let's all go one at a time and listen to each other. So what we did was we listened to each other and then we discussed tactics. We made sure we talked one at a time. Someone hadn't said anything. Everyone else said anything, but they hadn't given their opinion. So I asked them and included them in the group. Oh, what do you think we should do to change the tactics? And they suggested a really good tactic. And that's when I decided, okay, we've got 2 different tactics here. How about we do a vote? The team voted. We chose one. We implemented that tactic. We ended up winning 4-3 and like they got the winner in like 90 plus 12, right? That's what it's about. Make sure you include the result, the positive result. Oh, you worked as a team, it went out well. You worked really hard on like a coursework and you got a good mark in it, okay? That's how you answer those questions. Make sure you prepare for those because those are super common. And just I'll include that in a second actually. Then the third type of questions is scenario-based questions. And these are things like, what would you do if? And then it's like a hypothetical situation. Okay, so STAR questions are sort of about the past. Like, tell me about a time when you've worked in a team. Scenario-based questions are sort of hypotheticals. Like, what would you do if you were working in a team and someone wasn't pulling their weight? Or someone was letting the team down? Or what would you do if you were a leader and suddenly the priorities change? Or what would you do if you were working on a project and then suddenly a tight deadline came in? Right, and you have to be like, oh, if I'm in this situation, I would do this, right? That's sort of questions where you can't really prepare because there's so many different. They could do some random example like, what would you do if you were on site and someone did something unsafe, but then you had a deadline to do whilst also working a team, and you had a work experience student who then called in sick, but then they wanted to like. They can come up with any hypothetical situations. You can't really prepare like answers for these. It's just about practicing them. Okay, I'll say that in a second, but like practice is super important. What I wanted to say as a bonus is a lot of degree apprenticeship interviews are structured in relation to values. Okay, not all of them, but a lot of them are. So remember I said earlier about the company values, things like customer love, unity, collaboration, innovation, leadership, right? Ownership, accountability, all these like fancy words. A lot of interviews are based around those values. So they'll do like one section on collaboration and they'll ask like 4 questions, right? And then they'll do like one section on leadership, they'll ask 4 questions. And they'll do like one section on like problem like solving and creativity and ask 4 questions. Okay. So what you can do is this is what I do for all the companies. I have a look at their values, right? And then I predict questions they might ask. So for example, if one of the values of the company is collaboration, you know they're going to ask a question, tell me about a time when you worked as a team. Okay, so you can prepare that question. Say one of their values is creativity, you can be fairly sure that they're going to ask a question, tell me about a time when you came up with a creative solution. Like that's the way you can predict interview questions. I've done this for people in the past. They've asked me, oh, I've got this company, right? And I did this with someone in Australia, right? This wasn't even a degree apprenticeship. This was just I think it was a graduate role in Australia. Someone asked, oh, there's this company. What should I do to prepare? What questions do you think will come up? I just had to look through their website for like 10 minutes, looked at their values, gave him a whole list of questions, which I predicted. And then he told me afterwards that loads of those questions came up. And then he got the job as well, by the way. Because you can predict it based on values. And if you can't, I can, because I've done it so much. But I can pretty decently predict questions for a lot of interviews. So that's a way where you can like try and prepare answers, predict in advance, basically have a look at their values, because a lot of degree apprenticeship interviews are based around those values. Surprise the interview with the questions at the end. So they're going to do the interview, then they're going to say, have you got any questions for me? Don't say no, because it's like, okay, are you not interested? What you want to do is ask good questions that are going to make the interviewer have to pause and think. Okay? If you ask some generic question like, how long is the apprenticeship? It's like 3 years. Boom. Okay? You need to ask some like interesting question that's going to make the interviewer think. Like a question they haven't been asked before. Because then it's like, they're like, wow, this guy's like intellectual. Right? So what were the sort of questions I would ask? I'd ask questions like, what are the day-to-day challenges I will face within this role? And that's when they literally, every time, they like pause for like 10, 15 seconds and be like, wow, that's a good question. Do you know what I mean? Or like another question I'd ask is, how will success be measured in this degree apprenticeship, and how can I what can I do to perform the best? And they'd be like, oh, okay. That's when they are impressed. Okay, because then again, as I said, it's all about being remembered. When they come to like choosing, okay, we've got 5 candidates, we've got 2 places, which 2 are we going to choose? If they remember you first, you're probably going to get the job. Okay, and be like, oh, that was the guy that asked some like crazy question that I had to like properly think about, right? You know it's a good question as well. When they answer the question, they're like, did that answer your question? Okay, that's perfect. When you ask some dead question like, oh, how long's your apprenticeship? Oh, 4 years. Nice one, mate, right? It's whatever. When you ask a question like, what would be a good one? Okay. How would you describe the culture within the team, and how would I be able to contribute to that culture? Like something like that. Like these questions you probably don't even care about, right? But it's like you're literally just saying them to leave a better impression in the mind of the interviewer. And they're like, oh, how would you improve the culture? Or like integrate yourself in the culture? Think about it for 10, 15 seconds. They'll give an answer and then they'll be like, did that answer your question? Almost every single time I could get a did that answer your question from these questions I was asking. If you get a did that answer your question, perfect. That's exactly what you want from these questions, okay? So that's why I'd usually do 2 or 3 of those like super like intelligent, I'm impressing you sort of questions. And then I'd ask the questions I actually need to ask, because then I actually would need to ask some questions like, oh, what university is it? Because some of them don't specify beforehand. Is it work from home? Is it in the office? What's the arrangements with that? Because that's an important thing to ask. All that sort of thing, I'd then ask those, okay? Because if you need to ask something like boring, because you actually genuinely need to know, fine, ask it. Like if they haven't specified the length of the apprenticeship and you like want to know what it is, then ask them, fine. But just make sure you also get some of these really good questions in, because it's going to leave a really good impression in the mind of your interviewer. Do exactly what I said. Make them pause and have to think, and then make them ask you if they've even answered your question. That's when you know it's a challenging question, because it's like they don't even know if they managed to answer it correctly, right? Final one is practice. If you've never done an interview before, you need practice. I've done loads of mock interviews with people, and when you do practice, you can get good at it. Okay, no one was born well at interviews. I wasn't born well at interviews, but I've done so much practice of them, I can do interviews very well. Okay, so the more practice you get of interviews, the better. It's as simple as that. This is like, you can learn all the theory you want, great, do all the preparation, prepare your answers, fine, but nothing beats practice. So if you get an opportunity to get practice, I would definitely invest in that. Presentation. So this is another thing they do in the application process. Basically, they'll email you maybe a week or 2 weeks before the assessment centre, basically saying, we need you to prepare a presentation on this topic. And then like X, Y, Z, they'll have like a brief of stuff you have to cover, and they'll have a time limit. Number 1, make sure you cover the whole brief. There's probably going to be a couple of bullet points of things like, we want you to cover this, we want you to cover this, we want you to cover this. Cover absolutely every single thing, okay? Yeah. I was going to like explain why, but it's like, you don't even need to know why. Just trust me. Cover the whole brief. Okay, don't miss out anything. It's sort of obvious, to be fair. If you miss out half the brief, they can be like, why have you missed out half the brief? You know what I mean? Just cover the whole thing. Extra things you can add to make your presentation good is company values. Remember that thing coming up. So if you're talking about your presentation, you can refer to something, oh, I know that one of your company values is collaboration, right? Or I know that one of your company values is making a difference, right? Or I know one of like the behaviors you have is like innovating or something, right? Add that. You can add numerical data, things like percentages. If you're doing a statistic, can you like do a calculation yourself to show a percentage change, right? A lot of companies actually have that on their mark scheme. For example, Amazon have that in their mark scheme for presentations, doing things with data, some sort of data analysis. Like, so if you have two statistics, do a percentage change on them and literally say, I calculated this percentage change. Otherwise, I think you just got it from like Google. Like, they had already done the presentation, the source had already done the percentage change. Show that you did the calculation, because then you get that tick mark for like data analysis. First of all, make the presentation longer than the time limit. So if your time limit's 10 minutes, make a presentation which is 15. Okay, this advice sounds kind of wacky, but again, it works. And it's helped people get offers from places like JLR and Amazon. So it works. Make your presentation longer than the time limit. If it's 10 minutes, make it 15. Okay? If it's a 7-minute presentation, make it 10, right? And then what you do is just remove anything which isn't perfect until you get it down to the 10 minutes, down to the time limit. Because the other alternative, if it's a 10-minute presentation, you make an 8-minute presentation, you then sort of need to bump it up. Because you want to make sure you use the whole time limit, by the way. If you've got a 10-minute presentation and you're taking 6 minutes, you're not getting the job, bro. I can tell you that right now. Okay? If it's a 10-minute presentation, you want to be taking 9:55, 9:56, 9:57, 9:58. Like, that's how long. They will stop you, 99% of companies will stop you at exactly the time limit. So 10 minutes exactly. Okay? So you need to make your presentation like 9:58. Use as much time as possible. Do not go over. So what you do is when you're making it, make it longer, then cut it down. That's a lot better than doing a 7-minute presentation and be like, oh my God, I need to add 3 minutes of content. It's better to have added all the content, done all the hard work beforehand, and then you just sort of cut things which isn't perfect. And it basically means you're left with a perfect presentation. Like, every single line, every single slide is an absolute banger, and it's getting so much like quality. It's just such good quality. Basically, repeat the presentation 100 times until you get timing perfect. Okay? Genuinely, it's like repeat the presentation until you can do it off by heart without even thinking. I had this strategy, which I did, and I made a video on it. I would practice my presentation until I could do it while scrolling on my phone. Like, that's the level of practice I'd done. Because people go into their presentation, they're still nervous, and they suddenly forget their lines, they need a script and all this sort of stuff. It's like, you haven't practiced it enough. I'd practice it so much that I could literally be on, like, I don't know, YouTube Shorts or something, like watching that whilst also doing my presentation, because it was all just like muscle memory, because I'd practiced it so much. Okay, and also it's going to help with the timing, because your timing has to be perfect, as I said, because it can't go over. It has to be like 9:55, or if it's a 7-minute one, it has to be like 6:55, 6:59. Just practice it again and again and again. I would practice it until I could basically get it done 3 times in a row, doing exactly the time limit. 3 times in a row, it'd be exactly 9:55. And also, if it's virtual, get your phone out and do stopwatch on your phone. Have that right next to your desk, because then you can sort of see. And when you're practicing, you'll be like, okay, this slide I need to be at 2 minutes. This slide I need to be at 6 minutes. Oh, this slide I know I need to be at 5 minutes. This slide I need to be at 7 minutes. That sort of thing. And you'll sort of be able to track time. Be like, oh, I need to hurry up, otherwise I'm going to meet the time limit. Or, oh no, I need to slow down. I've got 2 minutes and I've just got a conclusion slide left. Let's take longer on this conclusion slide. That sort of thing. And then I said, not only like practice the presentation on your own, get practice with someone who knows what they're talking about, who has experience with it, because they can give you tips on your presentation, your delivery, and all that sort of thing. Okay, let me have a drink. Long video. Ooh. Right, the group exercise. This is a very popular one with some of the apprenticeship companies at their assessment centre in their application process. The group exercise, basically you're going to be in a group, can be anywhere from 3 people to like 8 people, and you're going to be given a task, given a time limit. You've got 1 hour to come up with this, right, or to do this, and you'll get given like a PDF document where you have to do the task, right? You want to be the project manager for this. Okay, you want to be the leader. That's the best strategy. This is a tried and tested strategy. The best way to get offers is being the project manager. Okay, because the thing about it is, say there's 4 of you in a group exercise, in a group, potentially one of you gets the job. Only one of you from that group. Maybe 2, but it's like 1 or 2 from a group of 4, from a group of 5. Okay. If you are just some nobody who doesn't really say anything, I'm sorry to say, pal, but you're not getting the job. Okay? You need to be the project manager, the person who's like in charge. Right? Because that's how they remember you. And the problem here is people don't want to be bossy, and they don't want to be like not working as a team, so they sort of avoid being the leader. It's like, then you're just going to get forgotten about. Like, I see where you're coming from, 100%. Don't be bossy, And don't be like taking charge, telling people what to do, not listening to the team, dictator, all that sort of rubbish. But at the same time, you still got to be remembered. So it's about being the project manager, okay? And these are things you need to do to show those project management skills. Keep track of time. That's an easy one. No one does that. I was in an assessment centre. There would have been 12 people. 9 or 12 people. I can't remember how many groups there were. And the moment the group exercise started, I said, right, guys, we've got however long it was, 45 minutes. Time is now 9:03 or whatever. We're going to finish at 9:48. And then like every so often as I'd be going through, I'd be like, oh, guys, we've got 25 minutes left. I think we need to move on from this point. Oh, guys, we've got 10 minutes left. Should we just finalise the presentation now? Right? That sort of thing. Oh, guys, we've got 1 minute left. Does anyone have any last thoughts? Right? That sort of thing. The assessor told me afterwards I was the only person that whole day who'd even mentioned the time once. This is so... It's crazy to me that no one mentions the time, because it's like obvious to me, but apparently no one ever mentions time in group exercises. If you can be the one person to talk about the time, be like, oh, so guys, we've got 45 minutes. Should we split our time like this? And then remind the group, like, oh, guys, we've got 30 minutes left. Let's move on, I think. Does that sound good to everyone? You're going to stand out. So keep track of time. Include the quiet people. So in your group, say there's 5 people. There's probably 2 people who are fairly like loud and they're talking all the time. There's going to be one guy who just sort of sits. It's probably even more than one guy. It's probably like a third, maybe even a half of the people who do group exercise. Their personality type, or maybe it's just they're just nervous. They don't have confidence. They're scared to speak. They just sit there like this, and they just don't say anything the whole time. They don't speak until spoken to, right? But they don't contribute. They are not getting the job. I'll tell you that right now. They are not getting the job. If you sit there quiet, not saying anything, you're not getting the job, okay? Don't even bother going to the assessment centre. Okay, if you're just going to sit there and be quiet, right? Because you're not going to get the job. This is where you can, as project manager, and as the person who wants to get the job, at the end of the day, this is a competition. It's like, yeah, like you're in this nice group and you can be friends and all this stuff. At the end of the day, it's a competition. If you don't get the job, they are. So it's like, it's us versus them. It's you versus them. So it's like, yeah, you can call it this nice thing. It's a competition at the end of the day. So what you want to do is utilize these quiet people, basically like leverage them. When they're not speaking, include them. Be like, oh, David, you haven't spoken in a while. What did you think about this? Or like say 2 people be like, okay, let's do this. Be like, oh, just before we go with that decision, I just wanted to check, David, are you good with that? Does that sound good to you? Or do you have any objections? That's all good. Okay, perfect. Let's go do that. Okay, include them. Organize the group tasks. This is again just about just being the leader, having those leadership skills. So things like a lot of the time with this group exercise, you have to do a task and then like present on it. So what it means is, if you can in the last 15 minutes be like, okay guys, so now that we've done this task, should we start to prepare the presentation now so that we have something ready? A lot of people don't even do that. Again, it's similar as time. A lot of people don't even do that. I did loads of mock group exercises last year, like so many mock group exercises with people. So I'd know all the stuff people did well, all the stuff people did badly. There were some groups, they didn't even make a presentation. They got to the end of their time and I was like, right, can you present? They'd forgotten they had to present. So if you're that person who says, oh guys, we've got 15 minutes left, should we start making the presentation? Project manager, leadership, confidence, communication, teamwork. You're a good employee. I want to hire you. It's like when you start the presentation, oh guys, who wants to do which slides? How do we want to operate this? Oh guys, should we just do like a run through? We've got 5 minutes left. Should we do a run through so that we can get this done? Oh guys, so how do we want to split the time? Should we do this, this and this? Oh guys, I think we're spending a bit too long on this. Do you reckon we should move on to the next one? Does that sound good to everyone? Right, you know, as I'm doing this, I'm doing it in a nice, like, friendly voice. It might sound a bit weird, I don't know, when I'm saying it, but I'm doing it in a nice, friendly... I'm sort of taking on this character of this nice, like, friendly, like, oh, what was your opinion on this thing? Like, I don't actually speak like that in real life. Like, oh, what was your opinion on this thing? But you're sort of putting it on for the group exercise, right? To try and organise the group, that sort of thing. Like, being really inclusive of people, including anyone who's quiet, asking for anyone's opinion. If any decision gets made, make sure everyone else... So if a decision gets made, be like, oh, just quickly before we do that, did anyone else have any other ideas? Just because we want to discuss everything, I want to include everyone. I know that collaboration is a key value of the company, so I want to make sure we include everyone. Okay? And come up with some intelligent points. Like, a lot of these aren't even to do with the actual task. Like, because you'll have an actual task, whether that's like, choose how you want to run a charity event, or like, come up with a solution for this, right? All of these, the ones I've gone through so far, aren't even to do with the task. These just in general, just be a project manager and be a leader, just be good in the group, because that's how you show the teamwork skills. The actual task, it's like, who cares? Like, if the task is like, organize a charity event, that's one that's quite common. It's like, You're not even working for a charity. You're here to do an engineering degree apprenticeship. They don't care if you can organize a charity event. Like, the actual task itself is less important. It's more about the teamwork and how you can lead. That's more important. Okay, because it's like, who cares if you can lead a charity? What they care about is, can you work in a team? Oh, yep, you're going to be good for an engineering degree apprenticeship. But in terms of the task, it is helpful if you come up with some intelligent points for the task. You come up with some good ideas. So that's a bonus as well. As I said, practice. Yeah, I did loads of mock group exercises last year, so I got a lot of experience with this. So again, if you're interested, you want help with getting a degree apprenticeship, like more specific, personalized help with degree apprenticeship, then go and click the first link in the description. That's where when I do them, you'll be able to register for things like mock group exercises, mock interviews, all that sort of thing. That's the best way to get into assessment in general. You can massively see the difference in performance between someone who's done practice and someone who hasn't. If you haven't done practice, it's going to be very difficult for you to get the job. If you've done practice, especially things like my mock interviews, mock group exercises, you're going to get the job. You can see I've helped people get jobs from like JLR, KPMG, HSBC, Rolls-Royce, all these sorts of companies. So if you want that practice on interviews, group exercises, presentations, things like that, go and click the first link in the description. So the next one is the case study. Some companies do this, and this is sort of a bit like the group exercise in the sense that you're going to get given a task and a time limit, but you just do it on your own. Okay, so it's basically the exact same as group exercise. Get a task, maybe got 45 minutes to like do a thing, and then you're going to have to present it at the end to the assessor on like a one-on-one setting. So this one, you don't have to worry about like the teamwork thing. It's sort of like different things you have to do. Number one, visibly make notes. Okay. I've been told this is on the mark scheme, making notes for case studies, right? What that means is, say you're making notes on your laptop, don't just be typing on your Word document like this, because that doesn't look like typing, does it? Like, you can't see anything there. I could just be not typing. Similarly, don't just make notes like this, okay? Like where you're literally just doing this, because like it doesn't look like anything. Literally do things like this. Literally purposely make it look like you're typing. This is what I would do. And when I was doing and this is the same as group exercise as well, to be fair, you can use like take notes visibly. I was doing a mock group exercise and I saw some guy like purposely taking notes. Like, do I have a calculator on me? Another one is use a calculator, because it shows those numerical data skills, which I mentioned, which are mathematical skills, which are important for a lot of degree apprenticeships. I was doing group exercise and I saw some guy who was doing some calculations on his calculator, and he was purposely like lifting it up like this. I knew exactly what he was doing, because it's like you can use a calculator fine and do it below the camera and no one can see, so it's like you're not going to get a mark. If you're purposely bringing your calculator up here, like, oh, I'm just holding my calculator, sorry, right? There, you're going to get the mark for it. Because I've been told things like making notes using calculator is on the mark scheme, because it sort of shows that you're, I don't know, it shows that you're more like hardworking or something because you're taking notes, or like you're more organized, something like that. So visibly do the emphasis there is on visibly. Again, cover the whole brief for the case study. Don't miss anything out. Again, come up with some intelligent points if you, in the case study, I can't really tell you anything there. In the case study, just make sure you do the task well. You come up with some intelligent points. You like think of some like clever ideas or something, right? Again, do calculations. That's linked to the calculator one. And again, link to company values as usual. Like the whole application process, just keep linking to company values. So if you're doing the case study and it wants you to come up with an option for like a charity event, for example, let's just say it was that one. And it's like, oh, I want to do this charity event. I know that one of our values is inclusivity, so I'd make sure that this charity event would be inclusivity, and then say a thing how you do it, right? Or that sort of thing. Or like, I know that one of the values is collaboration, so this charity event, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a committee of like the different stakeholders, so that we can sort of bounce ideas off each other and work as a team. I know that's most effective for projects. Something like that linked to company values. Again, get practice. So next one is networking event. I've just got these photos. Just to be honest, because I think they look kind of cool. I'll just be completely straight up honest with you. I'll put these photos on here so I get to look at me, basically. That's why they're here. So some companies do. I was going to say something wholesome, like, oh, I put these photos on here so guys, you can see that I know how to do a networking event. I'll be honest, bro. I just wanted to look at these photos because they're kind of cold. So let's continue. Networking events. Some companies do a networking event as part of the application process. So it's like you are getting assessed during a networking event where you might be meeting other apprentices, you might be meeting the assessors, and you are literally getting assessed during it. So networking event, this might sound a bit nerve-wracking to you, like a networking event where potentially you're like in like a massive hall location for like 2 hours with like 100 people you don't know, and it's literally talking. A networking event is literally just talking. It's like they'll have a few presentations, probably a few speakers, something like that. Not like music speakers. I mean speakers, people who speak. That's what I mean by speakers, right? A few presentations, and you listen to those or whatever, and then it's like it might be a half an hour presentation, then it's like an hour and a half of like mingling and like talking and chatting and all this rubbish, and like that. If that sounds bad to you, it's like, bro, that used to sound awful to me as well, right? What you got to realize is everyone else is nervous as well, genuinely. Like, you go to some of these networking events I've been to, and like you see people who are just super nervous, they don't really know what to do. Bro, so many people are like nervous of networking events. So if you're nervous about like this event with loads of people you don't know and having to talk to people and start conversations with this sort of thing, what I just say to you is everyone else is in the same boat. Like, really don't worry about it. Everyone else is in the same boat. And also, as I said, I think I said it earlier about a presentation, just do it anyway, even if you're scared. So you will be scared of like going up and talking to someone, just do it anyway. Like, say you're thinking, oh, okay, I should probably go up and talk to someone, but like, oh no, I'm scared, and you don't do it. It's like you're never going to achieve anything if you don't face your fears and do it. So it's like, say you see someone at a networking event, I'll explain how to, like, I'll literally, like, because I know people are going to struggle with this, so I'm going to go into super detail in a second with those methods. If you see someone and you're like, oh, I want to go talk to them, but then, oh no, I'm kind of scared, I don't know, what if they don't like me, what if it's, just go anyway. Okay, people in general, by the way, are really nice at networking events. It's like, if you're at a networking event during an application process, what are they going to do? Start like physically abusing you during like the networking event? They're trying to get the job too. Do you know what I mean? Like, if they're the assessor, they're not going to start. Do you know what I mean? Everyone is super nice. And everyone else is probably super nervous as well. So it's not something to worry about. These are the two methods that you can use to go and talk to people if you're nervous. Like, this is like stupid detail. For some people who are fine with networking events, this is going to sound kind of weird, like the detail I'm going into, but it's like, I've put this in here because I know there's people who genuinely don't know what to do, how to like start a conversation at networking events. So I'm going to break it down in detail. Okay. Find someone who's on their own. There's going to be people at the networking event who are standing on their own and they look kind of like worried, right? Because they've got no one to talk to and they're like all kind of awkward, like, what do I need to do? That's why it's so easy to go up to these people, right? When someone is on their own, they are like looking, they're like, someone please talk to me, please talk to me, please talk to me. When you go up to them, they just love like seeing you walk up to them and they're smiling and then they just talk. It's just so easy, do you know what I mean? Because they want to talk to someone. They're going to be so nice to you when you're the person who like saves them from having to stand there on their own. Like, it's so easy. Just go up to someone who's on their own. Easiest conversation you'll ever have in your life. When you're up to them on their own, ask them a question. That is the secret to conversations, is ask people questions. People love talking about themselves. Like, why wouldn't they? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm interested in what I'm interested in. I don't really care about what you're interested in. Okay, so if you want to have a good conversation with me, ask me about what I'm interested in. And I'm going to have an amazing conversation because I just get to talk about myself and my own interest the whole time. I don't care what you think, right? Do you know what I mean? So that's how you have a good conversation. Ask questions about them. Just let them talk. That's why, like, if you like find it difficult to have a conversation, you don't know what to do, you don't even have to have the conversation. Just ask them a question and they'll just start rambling away, just yapping about random stuff that no one cares about, but they care about. They're going to enjoy the conversation. You don't even have to speak. So it's like a win-win, basically. Ask them a question, whether it's about like why did they, if it's like another applicant at this thing, like, why did you apply? Oh, how did you find this? Like, oh, what do you do outside of this? Or like, just ask them questions about themselves that they're interested in. Then what you can do is, after like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, then just say, oh, well, it was really nice talking to you. I'm going to go around and see if I can meet some other people. Nice to meet you. Hopefully I'll see you a bit later. And then just leave and go and talk to someone else. Because you don't want to be stuck with the same person the whole time for 2 hours, okay? Especially with a networking event, you want to get around, meet a lot of the different people, a lot of the assessors. You don't want to be stuck with the same person, okay? So what you want to do is just basically leave early mid-conversation. Not like mid-sentence, just turn around and just walk away. No, that's not what I'm saying. But like, when it gets to a suitable point, be like, you know what, it was really nice talking to you. And if you haven't asked for the name, what was your name, by the way? Oh, really great. Yeah, good to meet you. Going for the handshake. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go. Okay, probably won't go in for the handshake then. You'd be like, okay, what I'm going to go around, I'm going to go and try and meet some other people. It was really good talking to you. Nice to meet you. Handshake. Boom. Right? Okay, and then just repeat. Go up to someone else on their own, ask them a question, talk to them for like 15 minutes, then just leave. Okay, and it's like, yeah, you could stay talking to them the whole time, but I just find it's just better just to go around, talk to more people, and like you're the kind of guy who people only get 10 minutes with, you know what I mean? Or you're like the guys like hanging around for 2 hours, and then they kind of like stop liking you. They're like, why is this guy following me, right? So just leave early every like 10 minutes. That's what that's like the exact thing I do at networking events, is do that exact protocol. Method 2 is like, that's a bit easier. This is what I'd recommend, is super, like, this is super good. Method 2 is just join a group. So say there's like 3, 4, 5 people already talking, just come in and join the circle. Simple as that. I personally think, avoid joining 2 people talking. Avoid a one-on-one. Right? Because it's annoying. Genuinely, when I'm talking to someone one-on-one and some random person joins, it's annoying because I'm actually talking to them about something, and then you have to stop talking and do something else, right? Whereas when there's 3 or 4 people already, it's like they're already in a group. It's not a one-on-one thing. So that's up to you. If there's 3 people and someone joins, no one really cares. That's fine. All right, there's 4 people, someone joins, no one cares. But when it's one-on-one, there's 2 people and someone joins, I'm just thinking, like, it literally happened the other week at work. I was having this conversation with this guy, and then someone else comes in and joins in, and I'm like, I'm just thinking in my head, mate, I was literally talking to this guy. Can you relax, please? Okay, because I was actually talking to the guy about something important, right? So that's what I say. Don't join any one-on-one twos unless like you really know the person, and like I don't know, man. I just don't think it's a good idea. If you don't have to, don't do it. If it's like everyone is like when you turn up, everyone is in twos, in pairs. It's like, okay, fine, join a pair, right? But if there's someone who's on their own, or if there's a group, those are better ones to do. That is a networking event. And also, I've done a whole video series on like just on networking events. So if you want even more information, I've gone in a lot of detail today. But if you want even more information, you can go check that link in the description as usual. And again, just practice. So if you get any opportunities to network an event, use that. If there's like, you can just practice anywhere. Like at school, if there's someone you haven't talked to, just go and talk to them and just do this exact thing, right? If there's someone in the lunch line for school who's like got no one next to them, just do this exact thing. Right, if there's like a group at break, just do this exact thing. Just practice it. It doesn't have to be at like a networking event, but if you can just practice it at school, or your day in the gym, or whatever, then you'll get better at just the skills of conversation, going up and networking with people, and that will help in the application process if they have a networking event as part of the application process. And also, by the way, when it's an assessor at this networking event, you're networking with assessors. Same as the interview. Make sure you have really good questions. Remember when I said earlier in the interview section about you want to have questions which are gonna surprise, like they're going to struggle with, because they're really like intellectual questions. They're going to be like, they're going to have to think about it and that sort of thing. Those are the kind of questions you want to be asking the assessors, basically, because then they're going to get a good impression of you at this networking event. So there we go. Those are the 3 steps of getting a degree apprenticeship. I have absolutely no idea how long this video has been. I have no idea. But I've covered everything you need to do to get a degree apprenticeship, and I've covered everything that I promised you. There we go. So just one final plug. If I've given you value in this video and you're like, wow, I've been impressed by what I've given you today, like the amount of detail, find somewhere else on YouTube where you've got a video which has this much detail about a degree apprenticeship application process. Genuinely try and find a video, right? But if you're impressed with the value I've given you today, then I think you'll definitely be interested in the program I've got. And also, I think you're quite ambitious. If you got all the way to the end of this video, then you're clearly quite ambitious. You really care about getting a degree apprenticeship. I think this program would be a real help to you. This is where I can give more personalized, more specific help with degree apprenticeships, with things like I can do specific things for specific companies. It also means I can do mock interviews, like mock actual things where you've been involved. I've said throughout this thing, practice is absolutely amazing. So if you can get practice with it's like an interview from a friend, perfect. But even better, if you get an interview from an expert who knows what they're talking about, who's given interviews to people, that's helped them get offers from JLR, Amazon, those sort of things, that's even better. Okay, so if you are interested in getting some of these insane results, you can pause here, have a look through, see what people think, then go down and click the first link in the description. But there we go. Those are the 3 steps to getting a degree apprenticeship. Good luck with your application process. I hope it goes well for you. Any questions, leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day. Peace out. See you in a bit.